Good evening, everyone. Today we will be continuing our January 2021 paper 1 for English A. Last time we did questions 1 to 25, and today we will continue our start with question 26. So our instructions read the following poem carefully and then answer items 26 to 33 on the basis of what is stated or implied. So let's read this poem. It is entitled Beat That Light. I think the horses must be laughing, kicking up their heels and chaffing, watching from their green abode the things that drove them off the road, winning in soft derision at breakdown, blowout, and collision. Neighing as they roam the prairies, motorists, obituaries. Read the epitaphs on Monday of drivers various and Sunday. Beat the horn and howl the klaxon. I hope that's right. For Hebrew, Latin, and Anglo-Saxon. Howling klaxon, beeping horn, the funeral dirge on Monday morn. Usher out the unlucky drivers without convincing the survivors. Here's a curve and there's a truck. Take a chance and trust to luck. The next one's practically standing still. And with that being said, we have some words that we have the meanings for, just in case you don't know the meanings of them. So we were provided with epitaph and klaxon on the paper. And so epitaph means a short piece of writing or poem about a dead person, and a klaxon means a type of loud horn formerly used on motor vehicles. I also inserted derision in case somebody doesn't know the meaning of that word. Contemptuous, ridicule, or mockery, or it can be a scornful ridicule or mockery if you don't understand what contemptuous means. And also dirge in line 40, meaning a lament for the dead, especially one forming a part of a funeral rite. So that being said, let us take a look at our question. Question 26. Why does the poet feel the horses are laughing? So we have 4 options, as we all know. He hears them laughing. The prairie is all theirs to roam. They are treated well by their owners. They were replaced with something which causes harm. And as we see in lines 1 to 4, I think the horses must be laughing, kicking up their heels and chaffing, watching from their green abode the things that drove them off the road. And we can infer, well, in question 27, the things in line 4, we can infer that it is vehicles we're talking about. So we know that the poets are laughing figuratively because they were replaced with something which causes them harm, right? Since we already answered question 27, we don't have to go over it. The things which they were replaced with are, of course, vehicles. So number 28, which of the following words suggests the driver's destiny? So we have winning in line 5, and we know winning is associated with horses, so it will not be winning. We have B, breakdown, and in line 6, we can see this has to do with the vehicles, breakdown, blowout, and collision, right? And D says howling, line 13, howling klaxon. And we know that the klaxon is a horn. So the best answer out of all of this would be C, obituaries. And that is in line 8, motorist obituaries. And we have a little note here. So an obituary is a notice of a death, especially in a newspaper, typically including a brief biography of the deceased person. So obituaries is the best answer for this question. And again, I implore you, even if you don't know the meanings of the words in the paper, test it with the other words in the options and see if it is the best possible answer. Because we know that it can't be winning, it can't be breakdown, it can't be howling. So it has to be obituaries, right? And number 29 says, according to the poet, what days seem to be most prone to fatalities? Now, if we go back to the poem, we can see that there are 2 days mentioned. We have Monday and Sunday. So let us read this to choose which one it is. So it says, read the epitaphs on Monday, which means a short piece of writing or poem about a dead person, of various drivers, and Sunday, beat the horn and howl the klaxon, for Hebrew, Latin, and Anglo-Saxon. Howling klaxon, beeping horn. The funeral dirge on Monday morn. So from line 14, we see that the funeral is on Monday morning, or more specifically, the funeral dirge is on Monday morning. And associated with Sunday is beeping the horn, which would be the horn of the car, and howling the klaxon, which is a loud horn often used on motor vehicles. So we can see that Sunday would be the best possible answer, as Monday is the day when the epitaphs are read. So we would choose B for question 29. Question 30. What is the poet's tone in lines 17 to 18? Let us see. So it says, here's a curve and here's a truck. Take a chance, and trust to luck. Let's check what we have here. We have A, sarcastic. And no, yes, it's highlighted. But let's look at the other options. We have B, persuasive. There's nothing about the 2 lines that sounds persuasive, because we know that when we try to persuade someone, we try to bring them over to our idea or thinking using evidence, etc. Indifferent, no. D, enthusiastic, no. It's more of a sarcastic line or lines, because after discussing reading the epitaphs, howling the klaxon on Sunday, having accidents, the dirges, whatever. And in line, which line is this? Line 16, it says, without convincing the survivors that yes, there's something dangerous about driving vehicles in a reckless manner, right? So instead of convincing the survivors to be careful, instead they are going to continue with their reckless driving. So here's a curve, here's a truck, take a chance and trust to luck. And that is the, what should I say? That is the thinking of many drivers, especially in these days, that taking a chance, trusting to luck, thinking that, oh, you drive every day and today is no different, but we have to be careful when we are driving. So it would be sarcastic. 31, the poet is recommending that drivers drive carefully, as I would have explained before. 32, what is the poet referring to in lines 9 to 10? Read the epitaphs on Monday, of drivers various, and Sunday. So as we know, epitaphs are a poem read or a, wait, let me check. Yeah, a short piece of writing or poem about a dead person. So we know that it would be related to death announcements. Number 33, which of the following means nearly the same as the title of the poem, Beat That Light? It would be A, drive faster. And with that, we move on to items 34 to 40. It says read the following extract carefully and then answer items 30 to 40 on the basis of what is stated or implied. And here we have an extract from The Reckoning by John Carew from the Caribbean Prose, an anthology for secondary schools. It reads, "Don't take it to heart, Shark. Life's got plenty of lessons to teach you yet, partner. This bush does reduce you to an animal, and then you got to fight your way back to prove you are a man. You better get moving, and don't let sundown catch you before you reach Nameless River." I left half of my supplies with Bulla and tonic, poured boiling water into the barrel of my rifle, tested the action of the bolt, and set out. I knew Bulla and tonic were watching me, but I didn't look back. I walked quickly, feeling my prospecting knife slapping against my thigh. The forest darkened, and my footsteps sounded louder under the tall trees. I wasn't afraid of animals or snakes, and for the first time, I felt certain that I would overtake my uncle and Santos. The only fear I knew was for the thing I was about to do with no witness but God and the forest trees. But this fear was remote as I swung downhill. The sense of being alone filled me with a particular gladness. I looked up at the sun and quickened my pace. I saw Nameless River from a hill, watching every movement. From a hilltop, The molasses black stream flowed by 100 yards away. For a long time, I stood still, watching every movement below, and scanning the far bank of the river. I descended stealthily until I came to a mora tree, which leaned over the river. I hid my balata pouch between the roots and crouched down to wait. With that being said, we go to question 34. The expression "this bush does reduce you to an animal," lines 1 to 2, implies that Shark would A, eat like an animal, B, walk on all fours, C, be forced to adopt the instincts of an animal, D, hunt for prey like an animal for survival. And even from the information given in the other 2 paragraphs, we can see that Shark has a heightened sense of awareness as he is traveling in the forest and making his way to the Nameless River. And that heightened sense of awareness and, scanning your surroundings, that is most likely associated with the instincts of an animal. And so C would be the best answer. Number 35. The advice given to Shark in the first sentence was meant to warn him that, let's see the first sentence, "Don't take it to heart, Shark. Life's got plenty of lessons to teach you yet. This bush does reduce you to an animal, and then you got to fight your way back to prove you are a man." And so we have A, he should not be in the bush after dark. B, he could miss seeing the river in the dark. C, he should be careful about dangerous animals in the bush. Or D, there were things he did not know about life yet. And from the speech, we can tell that D is the correct answer. There were things he did not understand about life as yet. And hopefully through this journey that he was taking, he would understand more about life. 36. The forest darkened, lines 6 to 7, suggests that, let's see, lines 6 to 7, the forest darkened and my footsteps sounded louder under the tall trees. So, B, trees leaned over the river. C, suddenly trees cast shadows. B, trees were blocking out the sunlight. A would be the most correct answer, as the entire forest darkened. So it's not like only some shadows were being formed and light was peeking out from other places, or the trees were just completely blocking out the sun. It means that the entire place was pitch black. So the sun had set by this time. 37. The phrase molasses black, line 12, describes, line 12, the molasses black stream flowed by 100 yards away. And we know just by the mention of black, it is the color of the water. Now, if it was just the molasses stream, well, I hope some of us know the consistency of molasses is very thick and viscous. Oh, that's the right word. Yeah, it's very thick. If it was just molasses without the black, it would be the thickness of the water. As we know that molasses is either a black or extremely dark brown color. So it would be A in this instance. Number 38, the conclusion we may draw about Shark scanning the far bank, line 13, is that he was, let's go to line 13. For a long time, I stood still, watching every movement below and scanning the far bank of the river. Okay. So we know that scanning usually means to survey or look quickly, depending on the context. But in this context, B would be the answer, examining carefully. Why is it B and not A, glimpsing the bank or peering through the bushes? Because in that same line, it says, I stood still watching every movement below and scanning the far bank. So it was a long time. And not only that, he was watching every movement that was happening. So that means he was examining carefully. So I think I mentioned this in the previous video, that don't only depend on the dictionary definition. I think that's the denotative definition, if I'm remembering correctly. Depending on the context of the piece and other clues that you find in either the sentence, phrase, paragraph, a different meaning can be developed, right? So look out for that. 39. The phrase is scanning the far bank, line 13, descended stealthily, line 13, hid my balata pouch, line 14, crouched down, line 15, show that Shark is, let's go there. So for a long time, I stood still, watching every movement below and scanning the far bank of the river. I descended stealthily until I came to a mora tree, which leaned over the river. I hid my balata pouch between the roots and crouched down to wait. Let us see. Okay, so we have A, looking for a friend. B, expecting an attack from animals. C, expecting someone who was not a friend. Or D, searching for a place to set up camp. So from all these clues, we can say C is the answer, as if he were expecting someone who he was familiar with, he probably wouldn't be using such measures to hide his identity or to act stealthily, as he put it, right? So C would be the best answer. 40. Based on the extract, the only feeling Shark did not experience was A, fear. There was fear mentioned in the passage. C, anticipation. Him waiting there can signal anticipation. D, satisfaction. Before it was said that he was happy and he was excited to be alone by himself, that is. So B, aloneness, would be the best answer. And aloneness meaning having a feeling of being uncomfortable by himself. He didn't experience that. He was happy to be alone. Now we move on to items 41 to 46. And it reads, industrialization has created a new set of intangible threats to health. They have presented themselves in socially acceptable forms. The socially acquired glamour of cigarette smoking, the pleasures of alcohol, and the spurious release gained through drugs have resulted in many cases of heart disease, cancer, and debility. Since many developing countries are succumbing to the same habits and dependence, they lay themselves open to the same diseases. One can work by one rough rule of thumb, says Dr. H. Hansulka. Hopefully I said that right. Chief statistician of WHO's Global Epidemiological Surveillance and Health Situation Assessment. Once a country achieves a life expectancy at birth of 60 years, cancer rapidly moves up in the ranking of health problems and causes of death. We now need to work hard and determinedly to implement these decisions on lifestyle change. These will depend on two aspects: the personal choices made and the choices that are only possible if national policies and health strategies break new ground. Nothing illustrates these aspects more succinctly than smoking. About a quarter of all cigarette smokers are killed before their time by tobacco. Most would have lived on for another 5 to 30 years, the average being an extra 10 to 15 years. If they stop smoking before they develop cancer or heart or lung disease, they would have averted the risk of dying from tobacco. Government policies can strengthen individual choice and prevent the growth of the smoking habit. Restrictions on advertising and promoting cigarettes will reduce incentives to smoke, right? Raising the cost of cigarettes lowers consumption. Health education should promote a way of life free of smoking. This is particularly necessary in developing countries where there is generally a minimal control on the promotion and sale of cigarettes. Developing countries can ill afford the enormous burden of tobacco-related illness on health resources, which are already overstretched. Governments may be collecting taxes and buying jobs in the growing of tobacco and the manufacture of cigarettes, but this is the cost of expensive long-term medical care and inhuman suffering and premature death. Some causes of ill health can be removed by political action and financial investment, but some, brought about by the way people live, can be removed by people deciding to change their way of living. Question 41. According to paragraph 1, I should say, lines 1 to 4, deaths from heart disease, cancer, and debility are on the increase because of, let's go back to paragraph 1. Industrialization has created a new sense of intangible threats to health. They have presented themselves in socially accepted forms, etc., etc., and these have resulted in many cases of heart disease, cancer, and debility. So we have A, the dangers posed by modern living; B, growing substance abuse in today's society; C, traditional lifestyles in developing countries; or D, longer life expectancy in recent years. And we can see that it is B, growing substance abuse in today's society. 42. The words succumbing and dependence, line 5 and 6, imply that the habits of cigarette smoking, alcohol, and drug use. Let's see, line 6 and 5. 6 and 5, 5 and 6, right? Since many developing countries are succumbing to the same habits and dependence, they lay themselves open to the same disease. So we have A, inhibit development; B, are created by the users; C, give rise to a state of numbness; or D, have an overpowering effect on people. And D would be the best answer. 43. The The writer feels that deaths from cigarette smoking can best be minimized if A, countries initiate health programs, B, governments institute new policies, C, individuals simplify their lifestyles in the area of health, or D, individuals make more personal choices about health programs. So some of these were mentioned in minimizing the deaths from cigarette smoking, but which one is best in the minimizing? So let us see. You can see in paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It reads, government policies can strengthen individual choice and prevent the growth of the smoking habit. And here it discusses how that would do so. So, best answer, governments institute new policies. 44. From paragraphs 1 and 2, lines 1 to 10, we may deduce that cancer is all right, we see cigarette smoking, alcohol, and drug use resulted in many cases of heart disease, cancer, and debility. And then Dr. Hansulka, hopefully that right, says that once a country achieves life expectancy at birth of 60 years, cancer rapidly moves up in the ranking of health problems. So let us see. You have A, it is on the increase in developing countries. B, caused by excessive alcohol, drug, and cigarette use. C, more likely to cause the death of people under 60 years of age. D, one major drawback to health programs in developing countries. B would be the best answer. It is caused by excessive alcohol, drug, and cigarette use. And the question 41 would align with this as well. 45. In the extract, it is suggested that one reason people smoke is because cigarette smoking is fashionable in modern society, as we see in paragraph 1, the socially acquired glamour of cigarette smoking. So it has become fashionable. 46. In the last paragraphs, 29 to 31, which of the following is not suggested as a way in which dangers to health can be reduced? Let's see. 29 to 31. Some causes, of ill health can be removed by political action and financial investment. Right. But some brought about by the way people live can be removed by people deciding to change their way of living. So we have A, individuals altering patterns of living, that was there. B, allocating funds adequately to policies, we have financial aid. D, politicians becoming more responsible, we have political help. C, governments implementing new policies. This was not mentioned in lines 29 to 31, but it was mentioned in a previous paragraph. So be careful of questions like these, because they'll ask you to hone in on a specific section of the extract, not the entire piece itself. So governments implementing new policies was discussed in the extract, but it wasn't discussed in lines 29 to 31. So we have another extract, sources unknown as well. It reads, the title is, He's the Man. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the candidate for Dimsville. He is the man who will make all your dreams come true. He is the man who will fulfill all your wishes. He is a man who will stand by you through thick and thin. Our opponents say that he comes from a foreign country and he's not one of you. I must thank them for their kind comments, because that is just what you need, his exposure to a developed world. He is equipped with the best ideas that will create opportunities for you. Don't you need steady jobs? And how about a school like that like that which other areas have. Yes, my friends, you need to live like valued citizens, not like the oppressed slaves in endless destitution. Your lives are not a journey into the promised land. You wander in a vast wilderness where hostile forces of humanity hound you with relentless cruelty. Your daily bread is sickness and worry, hunger and disease. Your hovels are dens of misery, filled with empty hopes and despair. Have you considered the future of the children? Look at this man, the man who will make your dreams come true, the man who will give you your wishes, the man who cares enough to come to your village. Question 47. The purpose of this speech is to, we have A, introduce a new product, B, find out the needs of the audience, C, condemn the efforts of the opponents. I'm not sure why it repeats twice. I guess that was an error on the paper. Now, this question poses a bit of a problem because the speaker only, well, he doesn't even condemn the efforts of the opponents. He just rebuts it, saying that the person who is presenting to the audience, because he's from a foreign country, his exposure is better for the community since he knows what a developed world looks like. So this question poses a kind of a problem. So I'm gonna leave out this question for now. All right, so let's move on to 48. The speech was most likely given at a political meeting. We can tell by how he's pushing for the audience to choose this man, how he will help their village. Right. 49. The speaker addresses the audience as you in order to A, present himself to the audience, B, distance himself from the audience, C, accuse the audience of failing in their duty, D, make the audience feel he cares about them. No. One moment, please. Right. So in this context, he is addressing them and their needs, right? And he does so in even asking rhetorical questions. Have you ever considered the future of the children? Don't you need steady jobs? Etc. etc. So we know that he's trying to make the audience feel like he cares about them. 50. The speaker suggests that because the candidate comes from a foreign country, line 3, he will, let's see. Our opponents say that he comes from a foreign country and he's not one of you. I must thank them for their kind comments because that is just what you need, is exposure to a developed world. And with that, we know the answer is C, be an advantage to them. 51, when the speaker says you need to live like valued citizens, line 7, he attempts to A, change the villagers' way of life, B, make the villagers feel good about themselves, C, make the villagers feel they are treated well by their representatives, or D, change the villagers' views of their lives so that they choose this candidate. 7 reads, don't you need steady jobs? And how about a school like that which other areas have? Yes, my friends, you need to live like valued citizens. So yes, again, he's using the rhetorical questions and, well, trying to cater to their needs or appearing to cater to their needs to get them to look on their life and understand that the way that they're living is not a life of a valued citizen. 52. The name Dimsville is suitable for the village because D, the villagers feel hopeless because they lack basic amenities. So schools, jobs, what else was mentioned? Schools, jobs, creating the better opportunities, not live like oppressed slaves in endless destitution. Have you considered the future of the children? Yes. So the villagers feel a sense of hopelessness because they lack basic amenities. 53, In paragraph 1, the speaker repeats the words, he is a man because he wants to, let's see. Paragraph 1, he is a man who will make all your dreams come true. He is a man who will fulfill all your wishes. He is a man who will stand by you through thick and thin. A, present the candidate. B, emphasize the power the candidate possesses. D, inform the villagers that they need a man and not a woman to represent them. C, impress upon the audience that he's offering them the best person for the job. So C is the best answer. Impress upon the audience that he's offering them the best person for the job. I know the phrase "he is the man" is kind of used in that way as well. He's the best person in a particular field, right? 54. Which of the following devices is not used in the speech? So we see repetition. He's a man. He's a man. We see rhetorical questions. I would have mentioned that before. We also see metaphors where he compares the experience to that of the journey to the promised land and the wandering in the wilderness. So we see metaphor. There is no pun in this speech. And we know a pun is usually a play on words. And it is most likely used in humorous circumstances. So I think this speech is more, I wouldn't say objective, it's more serious in a sense, as he's trying to persuade the audience to trust his pick for candidacy. And so we reach our last set of questions, and we have a flyer, I think. So National Youth Symposium 2015, topic adolescent health, the challenges, right? All of these on the flyer. So let us see. According to the information provided, the main theme of the symposium is, let us see, adolescent health, the challenges. That is a topic that we have here. So it would be adolescent health. Which of the following groups is not a sponsor of the symposium? So let us see who the sponsors are. We have this Ministry of Youth, Ministry of Education, National Council on Drug Abuse, Conference of Churches, University Christian Council, the Muslim Youth Association, the Hindu Youth Council. So we don't see the Ministry of Health as one of the sponsors. 57. Which of the following words can best replace symposium in the advertisement? So we know, let's see. Symposium, right, National Youth Symposium. And we see that there are different sessions held by different experts in their fields, and also entertainment section. So it's not necessarily a discussion, but more like experts coming to speak on certain topics in a very formal session. So with that being said, it would be more like a conference session, not an exhibition, not a discussion, not a conversation. All of the following groups are specifically invited to attend this symposium, except, let's see. Who should attend? Interested members of the public, members of youth groups, healthcare professionals, students in medical sciences, media personnel. So we have youth groups, members of the public, doctors, nurses, and other healthcare, so media personnel. Parents of young people were not mentioned. 59. How can those who want to participate register for the event? Let us see. How to attend? Contact Yvonne Dalton at the Ministry of Youth. Number is there for registration forms and other information. Complete the registration form and return it to the Ministry of Youth. So it says, call the Ministry of Youth, speak to Yvonne Dalton. Last question. The main address is to be delivered by, let's see. Sessions. We have HIV/AIDS, teen pregnancy, sexually transmitted diseases, alcohol, other legal drugs, human sexuality, healthy food, athletes, feature addressed by the most conscious youth of the year, Bukawela Tudor. And so Miss Tudor would be the main address for this symposium. So that would mean A would be the answer. And with that being said, this is the end of the test. I'm glad that we were able to go through everything today and just some tips as we went through comprehension. Well, remember to go through our comprehension strategies, I should say, that we did discuss in an earlier class. So highlighting the keywords and phrases. Of course, in the questions, they will mention words, phrases, lines that are highlighted to answer the questions. You can underline them as you read. Or one thing you can do, you can glance at the questions first, check the words and phrases that they highlight as important. You underline those phrases, lines, words, and then as you read the information, you can get some semblance of the answer that you're going to choose when you shade your answer sheet, right? So if you do it with that kind of strategy, I think you will use less time, you'll be more efficient in answering your questions. Of course, if you don't know the answer to a question at that same moment, you can leave it and come back to it after. Remember to not be afraid to reread the extracts, reread the poem, reread, maybe there is a drama there, reread more than the line that you're focusing on. Read maybe 2 or more lines or even the entire paragraph to get some context to what is being said. And again, don't be afraid to view the definitions of certain words in their context. They're not going to have the same denotation as they have in a specific sentence or phrase. Familiarize yourself with the figurative language, metaphors, similes, puns, sarcasm, personification, onomatopoeia, and how these are effective in writing. So of course, you're gonna have to use your English B knowledge to help you in your English A. And the greater you understand these, or the more you understand these techniques, and the easier you are able to identify them, is the easier it will be for you to use them in your own writing. With that being said, thank you for staying with me this evening, and I hope that you would have benefited from this session. Hopefully next week we can start focusing on the SBA process. I'll see you next week, Tuesday. Thank you again for joining.